station, we men, we women.
And inviting you to sit in with us again for a friendly few minutes in which men and women from all walks of life chat frankly about how the opposite sex irritates and annoys them. We like it frank, but we do try to keep it friendly. Women, do men exasperate you in your work? Men, do the women that you meet on your job get on your nerves? Well, you know that's what this program's for, to let you blow off steam about the other sex, how it makes your daily rounds more difficult. And today it's we men, and so my guest standing up to the male of the species is Bob Cole, one of radio's best-known artist representatives. Well, now, Bob, in order for everyone to understand clearly, don't you think we have to get on the record just what your work is?
That's a good idea, George. Sometimes I get a little confused myself, and it might help to straighten me out, too. My job is to act as business representative of various types of radio artists. Singers, actresses, actors, commentators.
Commentators? Did you ever run across any women commentators?
Oh, all women are commentators, aren't they, George? The main difference is that only a very few get paid.
Well, there aren't many lady commentators, are there?
Very few. The women I meet, the ones that get my goat now and then, are actresses and singers. And the first thing they nearly all do, especially those that are new in the profession, is to be late for appointments. To auditions and rehearsals. And the excuses they produce are really sensational. Either they have overactive imaginations, or they must have time dreaming up crazy reasons. The all-time high, I think, was the girl who rushed into my office a half hour late, explaining that she had got locked in a bathroom. The handle came off the door, and she had to scream for half an hour before anyone heard her. I thought that was a very legitimate excuse, until I learned a few days later that she used the same thing on someone else.
Then you don't believe these yarns, eh?
No, usually not. I've learned to be reasonably patient until such girls either become real professionals and are always on time, or until they just quietly disappear from the business.
Yeah, probably locked in a room somewhere when the handle came off, eh?
That would be all right with me. But while it's on my mind, let me make my beef about the girls who make up badly. I don't understand it.
Oh, I know, but you're only a mere man, Bob.
Sure enough, George, but I don't see why more women can't make up properly. Every newspaper, every magazine is crammed with advice about how to make up. You can read all that stuff, but what good does it do? None that I can make out. They either have too much makeup on, or they wear full stage makeup when they're nowhere near the stage. Or those cute girls, you know, that wear fingernails an inch long, like Chinamen, and they're painted the most beautiful shade of a million, and you can see they must have spent hours over them. Then you sort of casually look around and see that the heels are run down. How do you figure that out, George?
Bob, I don't figure it. I just suffer along with the rest of
Me
it.
too. And then those girls will smoke like a chimney when they come to my office and fill up all the ashtrays with lipsticky cigarette butts.
Say, Bob, don't you just love a woman who smokes a pipe?
After those cigarettes, I wouldn't mind. I might not even object to cigars. Then you met this other type. The one who calls every man they meet darling or dear, and such like manifestations of over-affectation. But it isn't real. They just do it because they think it's the thing to do. And half the time they don't know the fellow's name. But he's darling just the same.
Yeah, but of course if a lot of beautiful girls call me darling, I don't know as I'd object, Bob.
Well, you would quick enough. When you find out that they stop calling you anything at all if you don't get them a job quick.
Well, they may call you something all right, but it'll be under their breath.
Well, I frankly prefer that. Of the two extremes.
Yeah.
Or being called endearing names by a girl who hasn't taken the trouble to learn my real name, or being ignored completely by a girl I may have really helped.
Ungrateful beggars, are they?
No, not at all by any means, George, but enough to make you think that that particular kind of gratitude is a feminine monopoly.
Yeah.
I think that every branch of the entertainment profession knows about girls who have been helped by their managers in the early stages of their careers. And later on, when they're a success, they don't even know him.
Say, who was it that said, if you turn your friend into an enemy, just lend him some money?
I don't know who said it, but it fits perfectly. That type of girl is both ungracious and ungrateful. They're the kind of success turns into grasping, selfish little climbers. But fortunately for all of us, while some of them have a temporary success, few of them ever reach the top. And very few of them ever win the affection of the radio public. They just can't somehow or other. But that happens perhaps for another reason. That's because they've relied more on their looks to get by than on hard work and preparation. And sooner or later, that shows up.
Bob, you're so philosophical about it, I take it you don't even bother to revenge yourself on such girls as this.
It irritates me very frequently is the girls won't take business advice. They take everybody else's, and aunt who was once in vaudeville An uncle who once met Harry Lauder at a banquet, or their mothers.
Yes, but there must be some girls who take business advice, Bob.
Of course there are, but they're few and far between. And they're a great pleasure to manage. And then there's another type that annoys me, George. Well, it's more than that because they're really a little pathetic. That's the girl who started out on a radio or stage career, then got married very young, say when she was 21 or 22. Then after a very few years of married life, wants to come back into the profession.
Yes, but what makes you say they're pathetic?
George, because they don't realize that in those few married years, they've lost their technique, or else that the fresh charm they had when they started has disappeared.
Do any of them improve with age, possibly?
Well, sometimes, George, but very rarely. And I find it very hard to tell them that. To tell them that the chances of a successful comeback are pretty slim. And it gets very difficult when I can see that they're desperate about it. They need the money, or else they're just discovering that their marriage was too quick, that it was all a mistake.
Well, I don't want to interrupt, Bob, but I've heard of a number of cases of girls marrying men who right away forbade them to continue their careers.
Yes, I love those fellas, George. They're the ones that lead cafe society lives and think it's very smart to hang around with professional people. That is, until they marry one. Then they turn around and try to cut the girl off from all her friends. I knew one girl who had that experience. Her husband flatly forbade her to continue as a singer, so she quit. After about a year, she came to see me one day, practically weeping, and asked me to find her a job as a singer on the air. I told her I wouldn't do it. I knew her husband had asked her to give up her career, and I didn't want to have him coming down on my neck.
Ah, angry husbands in your line, too?
By no means, George. I'm very careful about that, I can assure you. So this girl said she'd leave her husband if necessary, but I just had to get her a job. She was really frantic. I refused, not only because I didn't want the responsibility, but also because I didn't think she had a very good chance. A few months later, on her own hook, she did leave her husband, and after a few months of auditions, she had no job as a singer.
So she wound up without husband and without job, right?
Exactly, George.
Well, then your first rule for ambitious radio artists would be stay single, wouldn't it?
Oh, no, George, it certainly would not.
Oh.
I've had too much experience to give advice to the lovelorn. But I do know certain things that ambitious beginners might do that would help them.
Yes, and incidentally irritate and annoy you so much less.
Well, that's right. The first thing a girl wanting a career in radio should learn is patience. Nothing happens overnight, no matter what you may read in the fan magazine. She should work hard and, above all, be sincere, be natural. Acting is an art, not something to turn a girl into an affected little...
I know exactly what you mean. Go ahead, Bob.
If she's going to be an actress, let her stick to it. There's nothing worse than actresses who try to sing or singers who try to be actresses.
If I meet any such Bob Coe, I'm going to send him over to you for the proper discouragement.
Don't you dare do that, George Putnam. I never discourage anybody. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I'm always willing to listen to people and advise them on what to do if I can.
Even if they don't take the advice?
Well, frankly, George, I think they suffer for that more than I do. But I never discourage, I always encourage.
Ah, come now, Bob. Even the girl who calls you darling and leaves those lipsticky cigarettes all over your desk, huh?
Well, I encourage them too, George, but encourage them to go somewhere else.